The wine glass trembled in my hand, not because I was nervous, but because every muscle in my arm was begging me not to hurl it across the dining room. Her family was laughing, all of them, her mother with that dry, whistling, fake snorting cackle. Even her father, who rarely smiled, let alone laughed. He let out one of those deep, satisfied chuckles that came from the gut. And right at the center of it all was May, laughing louder than everyone else at her own joke, like she was proud of it. Proud of what she just said. Proud of humiliating me. The words still rang in my ears. I hadn't even fully processed them. When the laughter started, well, he still thinks I come home late because I'm working late? Isn't that sweet? That was it? No context, no warning, just tossed casually between forkfuls of salad like it was a trivia fact. That room, that table, that moment, ... it snapped something in me. It's not in a loud, explosive way. It was quieter than that, slower, colder, like watching the first cracks spread across a frozen lake before it gives way beneath your feet. I didn't say anything, just got up. The chair screeched across the hardwood floor, a pause in the laughter. Her sister's wine glass tilted. Someone coughed. May didn't even look up. She knew what she said. She meant it. And worst of all, she wanted me to hear it. No fight, no confrontation, not in front of her family. That wasn't her style. This was worse. This was strategic. It was surgical, designed to cut me open in front of witnesses without leaving a mark. I walked to the coat rack, took my jacket, slid my car keys from my pocket, like I was just stepping outside for air. The air never felt heavier. Outside, the crickets didn't care, the stars didn't care, but I did. I wasn't going back in. I drove 4 hours that night, windows down, chest burning. Not crying, not screaming, just unraveling. Somewhere between the cornfields and the highway, I realized I didn't even know who I was married to anymore. And when I finally checked my phone the next morning, I had one text from her. Just one. You always make things dramatic. It was just a joke. But the truth was, I wasn't mad about the joke. I was mad that it wasn't one. And by then, I'd already started uncovering what she meant by working late, and trust me, what I found next will make your stomach turn. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. The idea of sleeping next to her after that dinner made my skin crawl. So I parked behind an abandoned service station off County Road 7 and sat there in my truck, engine off, phone buzzing every hour or so. Messages from May, short ones at first. Where'd you go? What? Come back. You're overreacting. Then the longer ones came, stuffed with passive-aggressive sympathy. I didn't mean it like that, followed by, you always twist things into something bigger. It was surreal. She had joked in front of her entire family about lying to me about using work as an excuse. And now she was mad because I left without giving her the attention she clearly wanted. That text, "You're overreacting," it echoed in my head like a dare, like she was testing how much I'd put up with. By sunrise, I was still sitting in the same spot, arms folded across my chest, eyes burning. I'd had enough time to run through every moment of the last 6 months, looking for signs. And now that I was outside of it, away from her performance, I saw it all more clearly. She stopped hugging me after work, not gradually. Just one day it stopped. She used to walk in and collapse into my arms, even if it was just for 10 seconds that disappeared. She said she was tired. I believed her. She said she had a new lead client who needed weekend showings. I believed. She said she left her charger at the office and would be working late in the lounge instead of coming home. I believed her. God, I believed every damn thing she said because I wanted to. But now I knew. When I finally pulled into the driveway later that day, the house looked exactly the same, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. Her car was there, parked just right, like always. Porch light off, curtains drawn, and the moment I walked inside, I smelled it. Cologne. It's not mine, not one I recognized. It was faint, but distinct, like someone had been there recently. She came down the stairs a second later, hair wet, wearing one of those oversized sweaters she always said was too ugly to wear outside. And her eyes widened just a bit when she saw me, just enough. You came back, she said, voice small. I didn't. Answer, just looked past her at the stairs. I wasn't stupid. I was quiet, yeah, but I was never stupid. She took a step toward me. Ellis, I know what you're thinking. No, you don't, I cut in. You don't know anything, because I haven't said a word. She blinked, that twitchy kind of blink people do when they're scrambling to steer the conversation. I was just trying to be funny last night. That's all it was. You disappeared and everyone was asking where you went. I laughed. Actually, laughed, a quiet, bitter laugh I didn't know I was holding in. Right, because public humiliation is hilarious. You're blowing this way out of proportion. There it was again. That phrase, that smirk behind the words, that fake concern layered with contempt. You said you were working late, I said slowly. Multiple times this month. You said you were with a client in Coldwater on Tuesday. That you slept at your sister's. Last Friday? You said a lot of things. Oh, she shot back. What are you even accusing me of? That was the moment I knew. It wasn't just about whether she did it. It was that she was ready to lie even harder now that I was standing right. In front of her, her instinct wasn't to admit. It was to manipulate, gaslight, play dumb. I didn't accuse her, not yet. I just walked past her, climbed the stairs, opened our bedroom closet, and checked the far back corner where I kept a small zippered duffel bag. I pulled it out and unzipped it in front of her. Inside were 5 shirts, a pair of jeans, socks, a pair of hiking shoes, and a folder. She tilted her head, confused. What's that? I handed her the folder. Inside were printed screenshots, dates, names, even a copy of an invoice from a fancy boutique hotel downtown under her name. Billed 2 nights in a row, the same nights she claimed to be out with a client. The second page showed a reservation. For 2, she didn't say anything, didn't cry, didn't beg. Just swallowed hard and sat on the edge of the bed as if the weight of what she'd done had finally caught up to her spine. She had that already, she whispered. I printed it at Kinko's. Yesterday morning, I said. I had a gut feeling. I just wanted to give you one more chance to prove me wrong. She didn't even deny it. Somehow that was worse than any scream. I left the folder on the bed and walked out of the room. Didn't slam the door, I didn't need to. Silence said. Everything. Downstairs, I stood in the kitchen staring at the empty coffee pot, wondering how long I'd been drinking out of the same mug while she was sleeping in someone else's arms. The shadows across the hardwood floor felt heavier than they should have. I didn't even notice she'd followed me until I heard her voice behind me, quiet, raw, but not quite apologetic. Ellis, she said, you don't understand. Turned. You're right, I don't understand. Explain it. She hesitated, and in that pause I saw the wheels turning. She was trying to calculate how much truth she could afford to give me without ruining. Whatever plan she had left, it was one mistake, she said. Didn't mean anything. I stepped closer, but not in anger, just enough to see the flicker in her eyes, the fear of exposure. One mistake? I asked. Then who's Shane? Her mouth dropped. Open, barely, but I saw it, the split second of panic before she tried to recover. I don't know Shane, she repeated. The guy who left a voicemail on your phone last month? The one you didn't recognize? I traced the number. He works at that car dealership near the bypass, same one where you got your tire changed 2 months ago. I bet he helped you rotate more than your tires. She backed against the counter like she'd been physically pushed. Damn, that's not fair. No, I said, my voice flat. What's not fair is me sitting alone at night wondering if I forgot to make you feel special while you were out playing house with a stranger. Her arms folded. The mask was cracking, but not in the way I expected. No tears, no shame. Instead, her tone shifted cold, defensive, almost mocking. You're being dramatic, she said for the 3rd time in 24 hours. And just like that, I saw it. This wasn't guilt, it was annoyance. She wasn't sorry for cheating. She was irritated that she'd been caught, irritated that her well-managed double. Life was now unraveling in front of someone she no longer respected. I wasn't a partner in her mind. I was a burden, a dull presence she outgrew, someone too soft, too quiet, too forgiving, someone easy to deceive because I trusted her. But I had one more card and I played it. I know about the second phone, I said. Her arms dropped, her eyes narrowed. Left it in the glove box last week, I continued. It was going to fill. Up the tank, I found it under a receipt. It's not locked. May, you really should have locked it. The stillness in the room was unbearable. The phone was everything. It had pictures, chats, voice memos, plans, nothing violent, nothing illegal, just intimate messages, photos of hotel keys, ridiculous inside jokes with someone named Shane. A guy who apparently knew that I was too emotionally fragile to ever find out. ... I should have burned it, she whispered. That line hit harder than anything else. Not because she confessed, not because she admitted it, but because that was the thing she regretted. Getting sloppy. Not the betrayal, not the deception, just the logistics. I left the kitchen and went to the garage, grabbed 2 garbage bags, and started packing up everything of mine that didn't smell like her. I didn't know where I'd go yet. I just knew I wasn't staying in that house another night. She followed me out into the hallway. Wait, she said, you're seriously leaving over this? That sentence, that tone, like I was the one ruining something precious, like I was the irrational one, like I just found a crack in the foundation and she wanted me to pretend it was a design choice. Yes, I said calmly. I'm leaving. Not just the house, not just the marriage. I'm leaving you, May. And, you know what the worst part is? She stayed silent. The worst part is that I don't even think you care. I walked out without another word, and she didn't come after me. Not that night, not the next morning. But 2 days later, I got a package on my doorstep. And inside was something that made me realize I hadn't even scratched the surface of how far she was willing to go. It arrived without a name. No sender, just a plain, unmarked cardboard box sitting quietly on the doormat like it had been dropped off by a ghost. I found it early, maybe 7 a.m. on my way out to grab coffee from the gas station. I'd been crashing at a friend's place, the kind of friend who doesn't ask questions, but keeps the guest room sheets clean and the fridge stocked with leftovers. I appreciated the silence more than I expected at first. I thought it might be something I ordered weeks ago and forgot about. I'd been too distracted to track anything. But the second I picked it up, I knew. Too light, too deliberate, and something about it felt personal. I brought it inside and set it on the table. No markings, no address, just my name scribbled in. Black ink across the top. Ellis. Not Ellis Myers, not Mr. Myers, just Ellis. May's handwriting. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single item, a photograph. At first glance, I didn't understand it. It was an old Polaroid, slightly faded. A picture of me maybe from 5 years ago, sitting on the deck of a cabin we'd rented one summer in Tennessee. I was barefoot, drinking from a mason jar, smiling at the camera. May must have taken it. On the back there were 3 words written in sharp black marker. You were enough. That should have broken me. And for about 5 minutes it nearly did. But then I noticed what was tucked underneath the photo. A hotel key card and a folded napkin from Bar Glenwood. A rooftop bar downtown that I hadn't been to in years. I unfolded the napkin. Carefully written in lipstick was a time and date. Tonight, 8 p.m., one last drink. No apology, no explanation, no I messed up, or I want to fix this. Just theater. Just one more act in a play I hadn't bought tickets for. I should have ignored it. I should have tossed the key card in the trash, blocked her number, and moved on with my life. But I didn't, because part of me, some pathetic, trembling, still curious part, wanted to look her in the eye and ask why. Why did you laugh that night? Why did you cheat and then pretend I imagined it? Why did you let something so quiet and good become something so cold and sick? So I went. I got there early, sat in the farthest corner of the bar where the light barely reached. The city stretched out beneath us, golden and distant, like a place where other people were still allowed to be happy. I watched the door for almost an hour. She arrived at 8:03, alone, wearing that same oversized sweater from the morning I left, but with her hair done like she was meeting someone important. She scanned the room, spotted me, walked over slowly like we were strangers at a business meeting. She sat down without saying a word. I waited. Finally, she spoke. You look terrible. I smiled bitterly. Yeah, grief's not a good look on me. We both sipped water. I didn't touch the drink I ordered. I didn't want her to think I was settling in. I didn't sleep with him right away. She said after a minute, "I want you to know that." I tilted my head. "You want credit for the delay?" She flinched, not from the words, but from how calmly the first delivered them. "I didn't plan for this to happen," she added. "You didn't plan for it to stop either," I replied. "Let me guess. It just got complicated?" She stared at her hands, then out over the city. Her voice dropped. "You were always good to me. You were safe. But he made me feel like someone new." That was it. That line, the final cut. She wasn't sorry for hurting me. She was sorry that being someone new cost her the man who never once asked her to change. I stood up. She didn't stop me. But just as I turned to leave, she said something that froze my feet to the floor. It wasn't just him. I turned slowly. "What?" She swallowed hard, then met my eyes. "There were others, too, maybe 3. I don't even know anymore." That's when I realized this wasn't a confession. It was a purge. She wanted to dump the weight of her guilt onto me so she could walk away lighter. But she didn't know I wasn't carrying it anymore. I left without another word. I thought that would be the end of it. But what happened next? It wasn't just personal. It was legal. I had no idea she'd gone that far. 3 days after that rooftop meeting, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, a local area code. I let it ring out the first time, then it rang again and again. On the third attempt, I picked up, half expecting it to be May with another emotionally hollow message disguised as closure. It wasn't. "Is this Mr. Ellis Myers?" the voice asked. "Yes," I said cautiously. "This is Detective Polson with the 10th Precinct. We'd like to ask you a few questions about a recent claim submitted in your name." My blood froze. "What kind of claim?" There was a pause. "Your insurance," he said. "Specifically the property loss report you filed last week." I nearly dropped the phone. "I didn't file any report," I replied immediately. Another pause, a shorter one. "Would you be willing to come down and clarify that?" I agreed. The station was only 15 minutes away, but that drive stretched like an hour in my head. Every turn, every red light, I kept asking myself the same thing over and over again. What did she do? Because I knew I hadn't filed anything, and if something was filed, someone did it in my name. When I got there, they pulled up the report. It was official, dated, signed with my name on the digital signature line. The contents? Wild. Apparently I had claimed that a break-in occurred at our home 2 days after I moved out. Jewelry, electronics, expensive personal items, all missing. Over $19,000 worth. The report claimed forced entry, even listed me as the person who discovered the damage. Here none of it happened. There hadn't been a break-in. There hadn't even been a theft. But the most disturbing detail was what I saw attached to the file. A scanned copy of my driver's license and my signature at the bottom. Not a forgery, not even close. It was my actual license, a copy of it from our filing cabinet at home, from a time when I trusted her enough to leave documents lying around. "Do you know anyone who may have had access to your personal documents?" the detective asked. I just laughed quietly and nodded. "Yeah, my wife." That's when it all started to unravel. Turns out, the insurance claim had already been partially approved, and a portion of the payout, roughly $6,500, had been directly deposited into an account tied to a real estate business. They were about to investigate until they noticed the matching address and spouse status and paused the process. I left the station in a daze. I wasn't even angry. I was stunned. She didn't just lie. She didn't just cheat. She forged a theft in my name and cashed part of the claim. I drove straight to her office. It was in one of those sleek glass and steel buildings where everyone acts like they're doing something more important than they actually are. I walked in, past the receptionist, and found her in a glass-walled conference room, talking with a young couple, likely about a 2-bedroom starter home they'd fall in love with. She saw me. Her eyes widened just slightly. I didn't make a scene. I waited. When she finished, she walked out slowly, like she was hoping I'd just vanish if she stalled long enough. "We need to talk," I said, calm to calm. She led me into her office, closed the door, and immediately started with, "Whatever this is, you used my license," I interrupted. You filed a fake insurance claim under my name. Face didn't fall. It twisted. You weren't using this stuff, she said, like she was explaining why she borrowed a sweater. You left. What difference does it make? That's when something snapped inside me. Not in rage, not in hate, but in clarity. She didn't just cheat on me. She didn't just laugh at me. She used me, weaponized me. Do you understand how deep this goes? I said, this is insurance fraud with my name on it. If they hadn't called me, I'd be sitting in a jail cell trying to explain a report I never filed. You wouldn't go to jail, she muttered. They'd just fine you. She actually said that. She really thought I'd just eat the damage and move on. Like I always had. But I wasn't that man anymore. I turned to leave. She tried to follow me out, but I said something I never thought I would. May, if you contact me again, it'll go through a lawyer. Her face turned pale, not because of regret, because she realized she'd finally run out of ways to manipulate me. What she didn't know? I'd already contacted someone. I wasn't the only one she'd stolen from, because the next phone call one was from someone I'd never met, but who knew her far too well. I didn't sleep much after the confrontation at her office. My mind kept spinning, playing scenes over and over like a scratched-up tape. The fake insurance claim was more than a betrayal. It was a line crossed that changed the nature of everything. Cheating is one thing, but forging documents and implicating me in a crime, ... That was something darker. It wasn't impulsive. It was premeditated. So when my phone rang the next morning, my hand was already shaking before I picked it up. I didn't recognize the number, out of state. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity had replaced fear by that point. Ellis Myers? The voice asked. Yes. I know this is out of nowhere, but I need 2 minutes. This is important. And it's about May. Cut. The voice was male, young, maybe mid-30s, sharp, calculated, like someone who didn't waste words unless they carried weight. I stepped outside onto the motel balcony, looking down over the cracked parking lot. The air was cold. The voice felt colder. Who are you? I asked. My name's Riley Denham, he said. You don't know me, but I met May 2 years ago, online. There was a pause. I didn't say anything. I let him keep talking. She used a different last name back then, said she was single. We talked for months, then met in person. Fast. Too fast. Thought I was the only one. I leaned against the railing, the rust biting into my palm. She told me she was a real estate consultant. Said she moved a lot. That's why she couldn't always answer her phone or FaceTime. Then I noticed the gaps, the weird excuses, the changed numbers. I started digging. He took a breath. That's when I found out she was married to you. My chest tightened. You were the guy in the background of one of her photos, Riley continued. Some framed picture behind her on a shelf. At first I thought it was her brother. Then I saw the same guy in another photo in a wedding suit. I felt sick, told me. You were just someone from her past. Said you used to be obsessed with her and wouldn't let go. I couldn't speak. I just let him go on. I was stupid. I believed her, but something didn't sit right. So I started saving everything. Texts, voice memos, emails, photos, just in case. He paused again. I think she's done this before, Ellis. With other men, and not just for fun. I think it's about money. That pulled me out of my silence. What do you mean? I work in compliance, he said, for a bank. One day, I ran a name check through one of our internal systems. Not hers, obviously, but one she used in an email address once. Pinged. She's changed her name at least twice in the past decade. Different versions. May M. Archer, M. Dalton. And there were 2 flagged reports of financial misconduct tied to addresses she used to live at. Neither resulted in charges, but the pattern was there. Why are you telling me this? I asked finally. Because I think you're the first person she's ever pushed this far. The others, I think they all walked away quietly. But you. You made her nervous. You made her careless. She filed something in your name, didn't she? I swallowed. Yeah, I thought so. That's her escalation point. When she feels it slipping, she grabs harder. There was silence on the line again. Then Riley's voice returned, quieter this time. She did something to me too. Took 10 grand from my account. Said it was for a down payment we were making together. disappeared for a week after, then acted like I was insane when I confronted her. I closed my eyes. There it was. That clicked everything into place. This woman doesn't just cheat, Riley said. She harvests people emotionally, financially. She extracts what she needs, then moves on. You're not her first. My stomach turned. And if you're not careful, he added, you won't be her last. We talked for another hour, traded timelines, pieced together overlaps. She had met him during one of those business retreats she said was invitation only. Turns out she was on a dating app under a fake name using professionally edited photos, claiming to be divorced for 3 years. And from what Riley uncovered, there were more men, at least 2 others in different states. That night, I opened a document on my laptop, titled it The Truth About May, and I started building a case. Not for revenge, not for pity, for protection, because I knew she wasn't done. And the moment she realized I wasn't staying quiet, she was going to do something reckless. And she did, because the next morning, I woke up to an email from my bank. Someone had attempted to access my business account using my login credentials. The email subject line read, "Security alert, suspicious activity detected." At first I thought it was a scam, one of those phishing things. But the sender was legit. The logo matched, and the contact number was the same I had saved. In my phone, I clicked it slowly. An unsuccessful login attempt was made to your business banking account from an unrecognized device at 3:41 a.m. If this wasn't you, please take immediate action. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, cold and trembling. I clicked through to the security log. 3 failed attempts, all from a location less than 3 miles from May's office. It wasn't just invasive. It wasn't just desperate. It was war. She knew I was building something, whether legal, financial, or reputational. And she wanted to dismantle it before it ever reached her. I imagined her sitting in some dim-lit room, scrolling through her screen with that icy precision, trying password combinations based on birthdays and license plates, not out of panic, but out of strategy. I immediately called the bank, locked everything down, changed every password I had, enabled 2-factor authentication, even for sites I barely used. Then I filed a digital breach report and flagged her name on every system that offered the option. And yet, I wasn't angry. Not really. I was aware, alert, hyper-tuned to what I was up against. And for the first time, I didn't feel like the quiet man watching everything fall apart. I felt like the only one in the room who could still see the exits. That afternoon, I drove to a lawyer's office Riley had referred me to, a woman named Karen Hask, mid-40s, sharp as a blade, with zero tolerance for drama or delay. I handed her the folder I'd been updating, texts, bank documents, printed voicemails, even the voicemail Riley forwarded to me from May, where she casually threatened to ruin Ellis's reputation if he didn't stop asking questions. Karen read everything quietly. No gasps, no raised eyebrows, just the occasional as her eyes flicked across the evidence. When she finally looked up, she said, "You're not the first person I've seen go through something like this, but you're the first who came in prepared." I asked her if I had a real case. "Oh, you have multiple," she replied. "Fraud, identity misuse, potential defamation. We could also explore a restraining order if needed. And depending on how far this goes, she might be facing felony territory." I asked her what I should expect. She leaned back and said something I'll never forget. Expect her to set herself on fire just to convince people you struck the match. And she was right. Because 3 days later, on a Wednesday night, around 9 p.m., I got a call from my boss at the restoration company where I'd worked part-time doing antique finishes. I hadn't told him much about what was happening, just that I was taking time off, but this wasn't a check-in. He sounded shaken. "Ellis, are you okay, man?" Said I was, then asked why. "Because someone just called the office and said you assaulted your wife and that you were on the run." I sat down. "What? They didn't leave a name? Just said you were dangerous and unstable, and that we should contact authorities if you showed." Up again. I traced the call. It came from a burner. My jaw locked. My heart didn't race. It slowed. Slower than I'd ever felt it before. Because now I wasn't dealing with a cheating spouse or a manipulative fraud. I was dealing with someone willing. to paint me as violent to protect her story. And suddenly, I understood something terrifying. May wasn't afraid of consequences. She was afraid of being irrelevant. When she lost control, she didn't just panic. She rewrote the narrative entirely, cast herself as the victim, cast me as the monster. All while sitting comfortably in her glass-walled office telling people I'd abandoned her, or worse. I called Karen the next morning. She didn't sound surprised. "She's testing your limits," she said. "If this keeps up, we go public, not social media." Legal motion, fast and loud, but I wasn't sure that was enough. Because if May was willing to do this, to stage financial sabotage, attempt to access my accounts, forge insurance documents, and now weaponize the law against me, what would stop her from going even further? Then, on a random Friday afternoon, as I sat inside a coffee shop gathering files for the court filing, my phone buzzed with a notification from a social media account I hadn't used in years, a private message from a name I didn't recognize. "I think May told me you hit her too, but I don't believe her anymore. Can we talk?" It wasn't from Riley. It was from a woman. And she wasn't just another affair partner. She was something else entirely, someone May had been living with. Someone she told everyone was her cousin. Her name was Isla. She was 28, worked remotely in marketing, and had been sharing a townhouse with May for 4 months before everything exploded. When I got her message, I assumed she was another victim, maybe another affair partner, maybe another ex with a wounded heart and a collection of receipts. But Isla wasn't like that. She wasn't broken. She was furious. We met in a quiet diner outside of town. She wore a blue hoodie, no makeup, hair tied back, looked like she hadn't slept in days. But when she spoke, she was clear, direct, almost, too calm for what she lived through. "I moved in with May last year," she said. She told me she was recently divorced from an emotionally distant husband who had abandoned her and left her broke. I nearly laughed. She said I left her broke. Isla nodded. She said you ran off to rebuild furniture in the mountains and refused to support her during a medical scare. I stared at her. She even showed me a fake GoFundMe she created under a different name, with stock photos of hospital beds. Said it was for her treatments. I was speechless. "But she wasn't sick, was she?" Isla asked. "No," I said. "Not unless you count compulsive manipulation as a condition." Turns out May had spun an entirely separate life. She told Isla they were cousins, distant second cousins, but asked her not to mention it to anyone because of family tension. Meanwhile, May had been siphoning money from Isla's Venmo, using her name to order credit cards, and opening utilities under her ID. Isla had no idea until her landlord called about a bounced rent check, when she'd already paid May for it. When she started digging, she found Riley's name in an old email, found mine through a tagged photo from 5 years ago, and then she found the rest. "She's not just a narcissist," Isla said that day over coffee. "She's an architect of lies, of entire worlds." She gave me screenshots, emails, her testimony. It was everything I needed. With Karen's help, we filed a formal civil suit against May. We handed all the information to the state's fraud division. And within 2 weeks, a full investigation had been launched. Her accounts were frozen, her office, lease revoked, her license suspended pending inquiry. But what mattered most wasn't revenge, it was peace. When I got the letter confirming that the charges against me were officially dropped, and that the fake insurance claim had been flagged, as criminal, I didn't cheer, I didn't scream, just sat in my truck, holding the letter in both hands, and I cried. Not because I was hurt, but because I was free. Free from the quiet shame I'd been dragging around like a second skin. Free from the gaslighting, the second-guessing, the constant ache of betrayal. Free from her. The funny thing is, I never got an apology from May. Not a call, not a message, not even a fake version of regret. Nothing. And I'm glad, because I didn't need closure from someone who made destruction her legacy. 3 months later, I moved to a smaller town in Vermont. Started working full-time at a local antique co-op. Built furniture in the mornings, taught a community class on wood restoration on weekends. I stopped checking old accounts, stopped, looking over my shoulder, started remembering who I used to be before her, and one day got a message from Isla. Just 2 words. She's gone. May had skipped town, vanished. No court date, no follow-up, no confrontation. At first I was angry, but then I remembered what Karen had said back when I asked if I'd ever really win. Justice doesn't always look like a courtroom. Sometimes it looks like never hearing their name again. She was right. It's been nearly a year now, and I've never heard her name again. I've met someone new recently. Her name's Hannah. She doesn't ask too many questions. She listens. She laughs like she means it, and she thinks the furniture I build is beautiful. She doesn't just say it. She helps me carry it. We haven't talked about the past